Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Outside Insider with me and my big bald head once again. The Philadelphia Eagles are now just one more day away. This time in 24 hours will be a couple hours from kickoff against the Washington Commanders. It is the biggest game of the year as far as the playoff hopes go. I don't think the team have faced a game of this importance. You could argue maybe even week one, potentially the Bengals, but in terms of a team that's complete, in terms of a team that will carry heavy playoff implications regardless of result, they don't come much bigger than Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. So we're going to break through a lot of the game today, just kind of individual matchups, what we're expecting to see, a little bit of news that came out earlier in the day. If you saw the title and the thumbnail, Jordan Mailata will indeed be active. So we don't know if he's going to start yet, but he's off IR. He was a full practice participant today. And hopefully that will yield some positive results for the Eagles. What's up, Daniel Berry? Nice to see you in the chat. If you are just hopping in, if you could leave a like, that would be amazing. If you're on Twitter, come join the fun on YouTube so I don't feel as lonely. It gets cold up here with my head. I need some company. But yeah, big game. Big game on Thursday night. It's the first time for a long time, maybe even since week one, I think that the Eagles have been in a primetime spot. And there's mixed feelings, I think, coming into this one. There's a large contingent of fans. I'd like to say I'm on that side that are very, very bullish now on this team. That it's like, the third time in a row Nick Sirianni has picked out a 5-game winning streak. The team have ripped through everyone that's in front of them since coming out of the bye and now find themselves in a very handy spot. Like, I would much rather, I think I said this the other day, I would much rather face the Commanders now than in that first game off the bye, because there's just such a big difference in terms of what to expect. You know, the Eagles really limped into that bye week. They lost so much meat on the bone. They face Washington now with a lot of confidence. They've just ripped through their biggest rival and made them look absolutely stupid in the process. They've capitalized on the Giants, a one win here, and they've officially beaten every other team in the NFC East. They've taken down Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They've continued to pile on misery against the Jags. And well, look, I think part of me is a little bit hesitant because the caliber of quarterbacks and opponents and defenses haven't exactly been great in this 5-game run. However, you can only beat who's in front of you. And the big difference here compared to 2023 is they're actually winning these games. Now, sure, it's a marginal step up because they're still almost losing a lot of them, but they are winning. Like, they're not coming out of here with their tails between their legs, having to preach accountability, having to do it all over again. They've got the hard bit done, and they've got the wins there. So the Commanders may present a very different challenge in terms of an offense that is absolutely going to capitalize on any, dysfunction or disconnect or bad coaching decision, questionable play call. All of that is going to get punished by an offense that features the likes of rookie Jaden Daniels, obviously Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, I think he's out actually. It's a high-powered offense, and they are going to capitalize. So it's a step up. But I also think because of that, a win against the Commanders will very much leave the Eagles as the unquestioned top team in the NFC East. Like, after the first 3-4 weeks, that wasn't really the case. You know, Washington were off to the races. They started making a lot of moves, turning some heads. And it's very easy to, for a neutral, look at the darling of the league that year, to look at the team that's beginning to find its form and has this shiny new quarterback and the dawn of a new era. Like, it's easy to get sucked into that and that narrative. Whereas the team with the all-star offense that's been there and done it, that's gone to the playoffs like 4 years in a row, that's had a Super Bowl appearance a few years ago, it's a different thing. And people naturally root for underdogs in Philadelphia. You know, we know that better than anyone. But this is now a game where the Eagles can send a real statement to the rest of the division. They pissed past the Cowboys. They pissed past the Giants. If they can somehow get a double-digit win against the Commanders and just affirm that, no, this is our table. We still very much run this. This is absolutely ours. Don't even think about the Commanders. They cannot sustain this. The Commanders are coming off a loss against Pittsburgh. It was a tough loss, one they threw away, I would argue. Like, that was a game they should have won. They most likely would have had it not been for, again, a couple of questionable decisions. The Eagles have now won 5 in a row. They're pushing towards that number 1 seed. They've beaten the wheels off the last couple of teams. They've made the most of this easiest stretch of the season. And I would, again, much rather face the Commanders now at the end of that now that they have a footing, they have a bit of confidence in the scheme, they're going to maybe not question things as much. And not that they would, but it's easier to pick things apart when things aren't going swimmingly. And when the Eagles were struggling, you could see tensions rise, and people were speculating about the Jalen and Nick Sirianni dynamic, and people were wondering about pulling Saquon out as he was about to eclipse an all-time high in terms of career yards in a game. Like, that's going to fade because the team's winning. So you face the Commanders now with the most complete team you've got. Everyone's high on confidence. They believe in themselves. You've got the young players balling out. The veterans believe in them. That's reciprocated. Like, this is a very good spot for Philadelphia to come into this game and to make a statement. Win is in. Nice to see you, my friend. Says stack wins is all that matters. Tomorrow night feels like a seeding must win. And again, I can't agree more with that statement. Like, it's about as big a game the Eagles will play this year. Like, if you look at the schedule that they have between now and the end of the season, as I struggle to type and talk at the same time, forgive me. Let's get it up. Can I share it on the screen? Again, you have to forgive me being a boomer here, but I am working on it. There we go. Look at that. Bit of bing. Right. Where are we at? Cool. So we've got Commanders here. Rams. Another primetime game, but they do get a bit, or even more of an extended layoff, although it is on the road, so make of it what you will. But it's in LA. It's a transient market. The Rams aren't scaring anyone this year, despite the occasional big win they seem to pull off. The Ravens is a tough test. Like, that's the other one that I think could really force some struggle on this team. The Panthers should be winnable. A part of me is rooting for Bryce Young to, get his shit together, especially after getting a win in Munich. But realistically, the Panthers team is so far away from being remotely competitive in any, definition of the phrase. So that's not going to be a problem. The Steelers might be an issue. They might be an issue just defensively. I mean, obviously, Russell Wilson is heated back up and is throwing it back to the old Seahawks days, the way he's kind of moving the ball around over there. So that's fun. But the defense obviously has been a problem for years, will be a problem for years. You've got someone like TJ Watt just ripping through absolutely everyone. That's not good news. So that, let's say hypothetically you go, 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3. You can go 3-4. The last two are wins. If we're being honest, the last two games are wins. Like, the Cowboys have nothing left. The Giants never had anything to start with. Commanders on the road could be heavy playoff implications in December. It's going to be tough. It's right on the eve of Christmas. So that's a game to watch out for. But overall, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the next remaining 6 games are absolutely winnable. Like, a loss would be a huge shock, and I would be like devastated and wondering what on earth went wrong. Like, we're talking about Manchester United against your local community soccer team. Like, it's different levels. So as far as the rest of the season goes, this is a big game, because if you can get this one in the bank, you can stack a win against the Rams. If you can somehow pull an upset against the Ravens, you're going to beat the Panthers. You should beat the Steelers, really. And then the rest should be wins outside of Washington. So it is a big spot, because you can go from what was at one point in the season a pretty wobbly start. Again, you go back through some of these games, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, as Rocky once said. They beat the Packers barely, lost to the Falcons, barely beat the Saints because they couldn't score. They got trashed by the Buccaneers. They barely beat the Browns. And then they come out of this, out of this funk there. Like, they come out of the bye a little bit sloppy against Cleveland, dominate the Giants, dominate the Bengals, survive the Jags. I mean, that was the worry one. And they beat the wheels off the Cowboys. So you go from a team that was struggling and a lot of people were questioning to one that could end up with the best record in the NFC if they can just see out this challenge right here on Thursday Night Football and then take care of business down the stretch. So a lot of reasons to be optimistic here for the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, this game absolutely is, I think, one of the biggest of the year. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC. With a win tomorrow, it'll be solidified for me at least. Then comes the Raven test. Curious to see how the defense handles mobile quarterbacks. Yeah, and again, this is sort of another prime spot here to play the Commanders, because not that Jaden Daniels is as elusive as a Lamar Jackson or a Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray. He does have wheels. We all know he's a rushing quarterback, but I think he's a lot more hesitant to take off than he's closer to Jalen Hurts than he is Lamar Jackson, I think, in the way he plays the game and processes. I don't think he necessarily wants to leave the pocket, but we saw against the Steelers, like he got pressured a lot and that impacted him. Now, he can still throw an exceptionally accurate ball, but it's cliche because everyone says every week for every game, oh, put pressure on the quarterback and that's how you win, which is fine because it applies to every quarterback. But when you've got a rookie that is riding this wave of almost unbreakable confidence, and then he gets a knock against the Steelers because you don't close out the game, the Steelers come back and bite you in the rear, and all that pressure, all those missed throws have haunted you. So the Eagles absolutely have to send the house here in terms of that pass rush to get past him and really just try and get them off the field. Like, and in, I guess to complement that as well, you've also got the title of this video, the returning Jordan Mailata. Hopefully, we don't yet know. If it's not this week, it is absolutely going to be next week. Jordan Mailata returning to this lineup is huge. Like, Fred Johnson, you've done your part, my friend. I think you're all right, okay? You were no wonder kid. I was not blown away. I was slightly terrible. What's going on here? Little man, what do you know about football there, says Shaquille. I'll get back to my Mailata point soon. Little man, I'm 6'3" for a start, so see you later. Anyway, back on. So Jordan Mailata coming back, absolutely, it's crucial. That's so crucial. The offensive line was against Dallas. It struggled. Like that first quarter against Dallas. Like you can put some emphasis on the sun. You can put, the glare maybe held Jalen back. I know we discussed that on the post game stream, but at the end of the day, he was getting pressured like quite a lot. And the game before that, like Fred Johnson has done okay. I think the first game he played was surprisingly good, and then since then it just has been nowhere near that level. And it doesn't help that on the other side of the line, Lane Johnson might, I'm not, again, being hyperbolic here, I think he might be having one of the best years of his career. Like, I don't have the exact numbers, but he has allowed next to nothing this year. Like, I don't think he's allowed a sack. He's allowed like 3 pressures, I want to say, through 10 weeks, just on a generational tear. Obviously, Becton's been solid. The center situation seems to have been resolved, and Jurgens is setting in and very much up to speed now, which is what you want to see. That left guard Dickerson has been as consistent as ever, and that left tackle is the 1 weak spot. And we were worried about Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals. We were worried about a couple of the other edge rushers that maybe Dallas were going to try and throw. Could they filter in some extra Micah Parsons reps? You just don't know. But he survived. That, if I was to position to anyone that by the time Jordan Mailata comes back, the Eagles have won like every game that they've played without him, I think you would bite my hand off, take that, run a mile, and take it to the bank. Because winning without a bookend left tackle, especially when the offense wasn't functioning as it should for a lot of that period, absolutely insurmountable. Like, you couldn't have asked for better there. So Fred Johnson, love you, you've done your thing, but back you go. It's time for Jordan Mailata, the singing, dancing, he could do anything in life there to take us home now, I think, and to complete that offensive line. And as much as it hasn't really impacted Saquon Barkley and the rushing side of things, I do think in terms of actual pass protection that you're going to see an increase. And like, I would think just confidence-wise for Jalen Hurts, like we saw it, if you remember a few years ago, when Jason Peters would go down with injury, and just before Jordan Mailata sort of come up and he got that role and never looked back, that at the time, whoever was at quarterback, depending whether it was Foles, Wentz, whoever, they would look a little bit sheepish at times because you're used to having that blind side protected. And all of a sudden that goes out the window because you're not as confident. So you're naturally a little bit more hesitant in your progressions and you're keeping an eye over that shoulder, and it can harm you. And I wonder if maybe that played a role for Jalen as well. But yeah, getting Mailata back, absolutely huge. I think, in fairness, Bonzology makes a good point. The good point being that Shaquille has the actual good point was that Fred Johnson did pretty good. And yeah, in fairness, he probably did. I think the issue that we've got as Eagles fans is we've been so spoiled by Jeff Stoutland and his ability to turn water into wine on a routine basis. Like, you could put yourself, you could put me, you could even put Shaquille in that offensive line, and within 3 weeks, we might even have a full block. We might even get a pancake. Like, what that guy does to raw talent is genuinely like one of the most incredible things I think I've seen in football. Like, there aren't many positional coaches that don't progress. Like, he's happy staying where he's at. He's just coaching along the next generation of the offensive line. Guys have come through that system undrafted and gone on to secure huge paydays. Nate Herbig obviously being one of them. And when you have a guy like Jordan Mailata, who was a late round flyer, part of the international pathway program, within 4 years becomes your franchise left tackle, you kind of get this almost like impenetrable force around you. You feel like, well, whoever comes in, Jordan Mailata is going to, do his thing. Jeff Stoutland can do his thing. He can cook up a storm. He can go over here. Who's that guy off the street? Oh, the Lions have released him. Yeah, that's a Pro Bowler right there. Give him to Jeff for 3 weeks, and you've got another generational player on your hands. So we've been spoiled with that. So I think when a player just survives and does okay and not blow the house apart and give up 15 sacks in a game, we kind of go, yeah, it was really bad. That was really, really bad. But in reality, as you say, Bonzology, it was all right. Fred Johnson survives. I'm not running to the door and to chase up every phone line to ring every team in the league to get him out of the team. I think he's done his part. He's served his space as a backup and should be here for the rest of the season. Like, I can't see him being pushed to the practice squad and replaced by anyone else. He's done good. The shaved head's working. He says, I will take that. My girlfriend, when she first saw it, wasn't a fan. I think she borderline cried, if I'm honest. She did assure me she wouldn't break up, though, so that was something. Rome wasn't built in a day. And then today, she was like, it's growing on me. And I was like, I think it's growing on me, too. It's like a winter arc haircut, I think. And I also realized, as much as everyone is slagging it off because I didn't go the full shave for the Nick Sirianni buzz cut, I am now at his level of bald. I've perfectly matched it. We have got the exact same level of bald haircut now. So wherever he goes, I go. Unless he dyes it like blue, I'm not doing that. But I will ride with it. And I will say what I said when I made the video and put it on Twitter. I think there should be a movement. All right. If Sirianni has shaved his head and it's working, I've done it. And we're 1-0 since the head shave for me. Every Eagles win, someone else should do it. Now, I think Jay Fizz is in front because I'm pretty sure he's bold. If he's not, I've just drastically insulted him and I apologize. But could be the move. Could be the play for us to send this team to the Super Bowl is we all just unanimously shave our heads. But it's not very nice. Sorry, not very nice. It's not very often that the chat says something nice about my appearance. I used to get told Sid the Sloth. Although Monday or whenever it was when I got called the kid from Toy Story, that stung a little bit. That one did sting. I can't wait to see this offense fully healthy. Yeah, and what a time to get it back as well. Like, I think Jordan Mailata is that missing cog, like we spoke about the importance of him and in terms of the pass rush. But we also have got to bear in mind that the Commanders currently rank 28th against the run. 28th, right? They're not great. For a team that is running through opponents the way they are, and defensively looking pretty good. Like, the pass rush obviously is pretty solid back there. The linebackers have played okay. They can't stop the run for anything. They're giving up like 134 rushing yards per game. That's not great. And when you've got Saquon Barkley, which is a very similar matchup here to what he had against the Bengals, just lurking. He was very much on a pitch count against the Cowboys, as we all knew, and some of us were quite confused as to why that happened. And you realize short week, Commanders on deck. They're going to need him for that game. Commanders on a short week, already bad run defense, on the road in a hostile environment against a divisional opponent. This could be a Saquon Barkley masterclass again. And I'm here for as many of them as that talented young man is going to give us. Like, I want to see a Saquon masterclass every single week. But with this one in particular, it just feels too good. Like, the whole point of this Eagles defense now has to be get them off the field, get that offense off the field as quick as you can. But the best sort of cure is prevention. You don't have to cure anything if you haven't got it. STIs. So wear protection. What was it, Shaquille? Yeah, we don't want people running around with your stupidity. So, but best way of curing anything is prevention, right? So the Eagles offense has to dictate the tempo. They have to dictate the possession and the control this clock accordingly because they don't want to get themselves into a shootout. And that is something that's a possibility with Jaden Daniels, with that offense. We know they can be dangerous. We've seen them put up points in a hurry. Terry McLaurin is third in the NFL in receiving. He's got over 700 yards to his name. He's got 6 touchdowns off the dome because I wrote an article earlier. We are flying. I think Noah Brown is their second ride out. You got Zach Ertz in there as well, who could be a little bit of a nuisance in his next return to Philadelphia. But you want to get that offense off the field. Like, if you can have an 8-minute drive where you churn up 75 yards, kick a field goal, most of them are on the ground, you're draining the clock, You're dictating what you want. Jaden Daniels has to throw off the back foot. We haven't really seen him do that. I mean, I know there was that one game against the Bears a few weeks ago where he launches the Hail Mary and it all kind of fell apart. But I genuinely think that if the Eagles can just insist on running the rock, insist on pushing downhill, use Saquon Barkley, use Kenny Gainwell, use Will Shipley, don't throw a pass. Don't throw a pass. I want a game like the other week where Jalen Hurts throws like 15 times, has 110 passing yards. I want a bland, boring, old school 70s, run the rock as hard and as physically as you can and just take as much yardage as you can get with every snap. I don't care if it's 2nd and 9, 2nd and 14, 3rd and 21. Run the ball. Just take time off the clock. Keep Daniels and company off the field. And then, if you need to throw it, you've got AJ, you've got Smitty, Goddard picked up last week. Johnny Wilson's now seeming to find his zen in the red zone. You've got all kinds of opportunities. Like, you can balance it out. But I do think that the Eagles are in a great spot here to take advantage of a very, very weak run defense. They've got one of the best running backs in football at home. Don't overthink it. Don't get cocky. Don't get too creative and too in your bag when it comes to the play calling. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. All right? Just keep it at basics. Run that ball with Saquon Barkley, and we'll let the rest just fizzle into play. It's all good. I'm bored, says Jarrell. Same now, near enough. So I'm on your side. The Commanders are being touted as special. They lost 3 games to good teams, barely beat the Giants 2 times, and lost to Bears minus a miracle. We win by 10-14. It's a good point. It's a very good point. And thanks for checking out the stream, Bonzology, as well. It's nice to see you in here. Bonzology. Yeah, but I was going to call you Bozoology then, but that would be an insult. I didn't mean it. I'd agree with that. I think that the NFL, unfortunately, comes with a lot of overhyped and underhyped teams every year. Like, you're always going to have a team that the media gravitates towards in wanting them to succeed because it fits a feel-good narrative. And the Commanders just are that team. They're what the Lions were, but without the stability. I think there was some level of confidence that the Lions a couple of years ago could sustain their current form under Dan Campbell. I don't think we have that yet with this Commanders side. But having said that, the future is exciting. Again, this is very much 2021, 2022 Eagles when they're finding their form. They've got the quarterback locked in. The offense is taking shape and they're beginning to build. I think they're a couple of years away from being a perennial contender. But with that said, this is very much a 2-horse race. And as I called it a few months back in the stream before the season started, biggest bet of the year for the NFL was NFC East winner, Philadelphia Eagles, runner-up, Washington Commanders. Never in doubt. I think it was like 6-1. Lump your house on it. Take out a crypto loan. Put that on it. Sell your dog. That's paying. It might not, but I think they're taking a step. They're definitely taking a step forward. And the issue that you've got with teams like that, like the Packers, the Lions are a bit above it now. But teams who are big, like the Steelers, you could argue, are another one that are just breaking out of their old mold. And that there is sometimes an element of fearlessness in that play, and that they will take the risks that other teams won't, and they'll try things that the other teams won't because they want to be, continuing to turn heads and prove people wrong. Look at the Eagles in 2017. No one expected that really until 7-8 weeks in. Then Carson goes down, and the same sort of narrative follows that team. An underdog team is a dangerous team. It's not like they're the Bears and the season's basically washed, but they're there anyway. It's not like they're the Panthers. It's not like they're the Browns. We're talking about a team that they know they haven't been to the playoffs in a long time. They want to get themselves back into a point where they can compete for a number 1 seed, restore, I would say glory, but restore the older era of Washington football, and get back on the right track. And that will be infectious. It's a hard vehicle to stop. It's much more about the character and the will on the field, but then it is X's and O's at that point. And the last thing the Eagles want to do here is get complacent. I don't think they will. I think both teams are hungry here for different reasons. The Eagles are very eager to put things right, especially after such a bumpy start. So I can see them being absolutely fine. But I agree. I think the Commanders are overhyped. I don't buy it. I think it's an early project. I think within 5 years, you're going to see them veer towards a championship game. I mean, whether or not they get there is anybody's guess, but I think they're on that trajectory, but they're not there yet. They're at least a couple of years away from that, in my opinion. I refuse to shave. Haven't cut my hair in 10 years. I got dreadlocks. Fair enough. I remember one of the guys I used to work with before I quit to do PSN at Apple had like a like long dreadlocks all the way down his back, and he cut them off for charity, which was very good. I think did he donate the hair or sell the hair? It was something like that. But he came in the next day, and like, I barely recognized it, and I was like, oh my god, like it makes such a difference. So keep the dreadlocks. I absolutely absolutely back that. AJ gets to see his son this week. Do you mean his real son or a member of the Commanders, as in Emmanuel Forbes? I'm guessing you mean Forbes. Have I picked out Forbes, or am I just making it up again? I don't know. It could. We'll find out in a minute. I'll let Birdbrain get back to me. Do you have faith in Huff getting production, or was the forced fumble last week a one-off? I don't know. Like, I think the Bryce Huff experiment, like we said, ever since the signing, was going to be long term. Like, he weren't going to get week 1 5 sacks because he's just not that player yet. Like, he's a rotational guy. And I think as the season's gone on, and I know there's been fluctuations in his snap counts. Like, some days he's going to play 50%. Some days he's going to play 45%. Some days he'll play 60%. Like, I understand there are differences there, but you're beginning to like find your feet in a new scheme, in a new environment. You're still a young player. There's also a weight, I think, of expectation, not only because of the money he's been paid, but the production last year. So you look back at that Jet season where he had 10 sacks, and he's probably annoyed at himself that it's like, I don't want that to be a flash in the pan. I'm not one of those players. I want to prove I can do it. And there's a lot to juggle there. So not only have you got to get mentally ready to take that on, but physically wise, like I said at the beginning of the year, stamina was not his strong suit. Okay, if he was in bed, and we're talking for a bad analogy, F1 pit stop, he'd last 4 seconds. All right, you look at someone like a Brandon Graham, 28 minutes, nothing fancy, nothing outside the box, but just gets the job done, brings her home. I like that. That's what we need to see from Bryce Huff. It's just getting up to that level where he can be comfortable in a deeper pitch count. Like, he can't be gassing himself out 2 plays into a drive, because then you end up being a nuisance rather than a help. And that's where the Eagles then seem to struggle, because Nolan Smith was also in a similar boat in terms of he just wasn't producing. So you now go through a few games where he's flashing a little bit more. We had that forced fumble last week. There were a couple of, I think he had a sack maybe the week before, where he began to really sort of just turn a couple of heads. Oh, Bryce Huff's here. All right, I see you. Bryce Huff's making a little bit of noise now. They needed that. Like, the team really needed that. I think Bryce needed that. He's not going to be running out there getting 3 sacks this game. Like, I don't doubt that at all. But I do think he's going to be in a situation where down the stretch, he might be in a position to get a sack here and there, force another fumble here and there, or get enough pressure that forces a bad throw that gets picked off. Like, he's going to be a bit more active just as he learns more. He's a very young, very raw edge rusher that doesn't have a lot to his game other than excessive speed. And that takes time to develop. Like, it took 3 years for Derek Barnett to learn how to do a spin move. 3 years it took. Bryce Huff's come in, weight of expectation, lot of money, and is beginning to just about get there. This was a long-term investment. You're just starting to see the price move a little bit on that now. Like, we're not shooting up like GameStop levels just yet, but I think we're gonna see it. Like, give it a couple years. So if you can continue to just chip away, make a couple of plays each week, whether it's a pass breakout and batting a hand down, whether it's just a lot of pressure, one of those dodgy PFF metrics, or a sack himself, like, we can keep chipping away and making a visible play every week that fans can go, all right, Bryce Huff, there might actually be something here, rather than wanting to throw the towel in after a week. Then I think he'll retain it. He'll keep that momentum and continue to build. That's the difficult bit, though, especially as an edge rusher, is you've got to keep that momentum and not let it just kind of dissipate away. So we'll see. But long term, absolutely. Short term, not sure, but I'm hopeful, given the way that the whole front 4, front 3 technically, is beginning to just round into form a little bit more now. So definitely a bit more optimistic on Bryce than most people. You have to be who's in front of you, but the Commanders have only beaten scrubs. I mean, you say that. I think you can kind of make a point, not as bad, but for the Eagles. Like, the Packers, fair enough. Falcons was going to be a win. The Saints definitely should have been a win. Bucks, no. Browns, yes. Giants, yes. Bengals, I would say yeah, because they've got no run game, as good as they are. Jaguars, yeah. Cowboys, yeah. Like, it's not I think the only game they really should have lost was the Bucks, to be honest. But it's contextual. Like, the NFC East in general has an easy schedule this year. It is what it is. You get to the dance and you make some noise in the playoffs. All that matters is you get there. Doesn't matter how. Doesn't matter who you beat. National guys already elevating Jaden above Jalen. I need the Eagles defense to make him look like a rookie and Jalen to ball out. I would love it. I think just that kind of humbling. I think every rookie quarterback has one, whether it's first year or second year, but just a really humbling experience. Just set him down a little bit and remind him again that the Eagles do very much run the table when it comes to the NFC East. Like, they've got the pieces to do it. They've got the guys to cause pressure. You've got Quinion Mitchell. You've got Cooper DeJean in the secondary running riot. The linebackers, Zach Bourne. Can we just say for a minute, I'm sorry to interrupt my own point here, Liam. That's okay, Liam. Zach Bourne, NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Can we just give a round? Can we just give a round of applause to Zach Bourne, Jason Bourne, the Bourne identity? Because I am so happy for it. I'm like so stunned. This is honest. I've not been this excited about a player in a long time. And again, the early people on this channel would have known. We gushed about it. I say it every stream, but he's coming. He really is coming into his own. And if he ends up, being labeled as one of the premier linebackers in the NFL after this season, I hope he secures the bag. It's like dating a woman out your league. At some point, she's probably going to leave you, and that's okay. But you enjoy the ride while it lasts, and you just sayonara. You go enjoy yourself, and I will listen to Taylor Swift. And I can see that happening with Zach Bourne. I'm ready to be heartbroken. I've accepted it. But if Howie Roseman does feeling like throwing him $30 million a year, preferably, then please do it, because I will not complain. I'm very much, I will donate money. Like, I think if we all rallied together as a community and donate money to Jeffrey Lurie, maybe they'll pay him, and we do that instead. And that's my plan of keeping him in the city of brotherly love. What's up, Dirk? Nice to see you, my friend. Thanks for hopping in. Birdbrain does say Forbes, so it was AJ visiting his son, Emmanuel Forbes, and I can't wait for that. I've got to say, I saw this nickname on Twitter the other day. Quintanamo Bay is such a good nickname. It's so good. Like, Q is a bit hard, it's a bit mysterious, a bit edgy. I like it. Quintanamo Bay is just sensational. Like, I don't know who came up with it, but they deserve a raise. They deserve a medal. I would certainly shoot them a follow on Twitter if I see it again, because that was it was genius, absolutely genius. We'll shut McLaurin down. We haven't had a tight end. We haven't let a tight end score a TD all year. I just don't want it to be Zach Ertz then, in that case. I don't want the first one to be Zach Ertz. It's going to be anyone but. Have they not got that other... I swear they had like quite a talented, like rapid backup tight end, and he was there for years, and I can't remember who it was now. They had like a TE2 that was just like... I'd always sign him on Madden for like 4 years, and he would always be average, but have like 98 speed. Can't remember who it is. One of the Madden guys will let me know. But just don't let Zach Ertz score. I know we're over it. I know he's gone a long time ago and he went to Arizona, and it's been years now since he was an Eagle, but not in Philadelphia, Zach. Yeah, save it for the home game. If you're going to do it, save it for the home game. Don't start now. There's no need for that now. According to Fangio, Forbes has a cast and his fingers just be tangling. I'm guessing he means all Huff? Forbes. Okay, yeah. I got confused then. Big Bang Born, love it. Bing Bang Born. Saw a wild list. I don't know if it was PFF or what, but they didn't even have Mitchell as a top 15 rookie. He's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I have no doubt. I think he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I know you've still got the edge rushers, Jared Verse, Latu, but he needs a pick. He just needs a pick. If he gets the interception, if he can start he needs the plays. Because right now, he's genuinely playing so good that he's not even being targeted. I think he's allowed like 80 yards in his last 5 games or like something stupid. Like, he's allowed nothing at all. Cowboys could do nothing against him. The Bengals, the Jaguars, the Giants, like no one is going near him. And they're all targeting Slay because Slay's fallen off a bit. And the passing of that torch is there. And that matchup of McLaurin on Quinion Mitchell is like the most excited I've been for an individual cornerback receiver matchup in such a long time. I'm talking like Odell, Josh Norman level, and they don't have a rivalry. They haven't done anything yet. But it's just the fact that Quinion has been so above expectation in just shutting down whoever's in front of him, whether it's CD Lamb, whether it was Jamar Chase, Or not Jamar. Yeah, it was Jamar Chase. I beg your pardon. Like whoever, it doesn't matter who they lobbed out there. It was whether it was Jalen Brooks against the Cowboys, whether you go back and you look at the Giants and it was Slayton and their little rookie neighbors who's done nothing really against the Eagles. He's done everyone. He has shut down everyone. And now you get Scary Terry, who's on 700 yards, another blistering season. He's got a quarterback that can actually throw him the ball now, which in his defense is the first time he's had that, maybe even his entire career. So there's a lot riding on that matchup. But I wrote it in an article today. I really, really think that this will be a passing of the torch moment. Like, I know that Slay is technically the CV1 of this team, and that's lovely. Slay can have it for another 3 months until we send him to Guantanamo Bay. But Quinyon Mitchell now knows he's on that left side. We know McLaurin lines up on the right. So that's those two locked into war all day. And if Quinyon Mitchell can shut down McLaurin, maybe allow, 15, 25 yards at most, no touchdowns. A guy, by the way, McLaurin, who has over 870 yards against the Eagles in 10 games. Like, he's not generational against his team. He's certainly not terrible. In fact, he's pretty damn good. But he's only eclipsed, I want to say, 100 yards twice in his last 6 against Philadelphia. Stick Quinyon on him all game, and let's just see what he does. And if Quinyon Mitchell picks off a pass against Terry McLaurin, if he can blanket McLaurin and force that traffic to go the other way, do we really come out of this week with the assumption that Darius Slay is CB1? Not long term, we all know that's gone, but even now, is it not obvious that the future of that secondary is here? It's not a forecast for 2 years from now. You've had Quinyon Mitchell completely shut down Jamar Chase. He has eradicated the Cowboys. He's done everything that you'd expect from a Pro Bowl level corner, and now he faces one of the league's best. And if he can survive that matchup and do what he does best and just carry this unbreakable aura and confidence, he does not get intimidated. He's not easily shoved off a ball. He will go into a matchup, even week 1, where he wasn't really going to start. It was Isaiah Rodgers that was going to be CB2, and he couldn't go. Mitchell was, dropped into the deep end, and he was just standing over players. He was chirping. There was energy. There was a real passion there in his play. And what was the result of that was a genuine emergence of a CB1. And it's probably happened a year before I expected. I thought, it will learn the ropes this year, challenge to win it in training camp next year, and then he's going to be named it for the start of the season. I think he's already there. I genuinely think he's already there. Slay hasn't done it for me for a while. I can see Isaiah Rodgers getting that spot, if not maybe a rookie next year. Cooper DeJean likely going to move to safety unless... I don't know. That's a weird one because the plan was with him to move him to safety, but now he is playing so well in the nickel and he does so well in complementing the pass rush and allowing them to get down there and generate some extra pressure. I'm tempted to keep him there. It's however he best benefits the defense. But to have those two as staples of your secondary for the next however long is so exciting. And I can't wait for that matchup tomorrow. No more matchup is bringing me joy than the idea of seeing Mitchell and McLaurin going at it. It's I want a Senior Bowl level camera on it. Just those two in drills the entire game. Every route. I want all of it. It's I want OnlyFans level content from that game. I believe DeJean is the highest rated corner on the Eagles. I would have to double check it, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, just because he's seeing more traffic than the rest of them. Obviously, as I mentioned, Quinyon's not really being targeted, and that kind of goes back to my point earlier with Mitchell, is that I think he's done everything so well, but he's just not being thrown at. So that's the only thing with stats, is there should be, I don't know how to formulate it, but a stat that's percentage of targets thrown at versus, I don't know, just some way of grading or to factor that into an evaluation of he's good because they aren't throwing his way. He's had more routes not thrown at, or maybe snaps played versus routes targeted, something do you see what I'm saying? So you can say he's on the field 80% of the time, he's only being targeted 10, therefore he's good. Or, he's on the field 80% of the time being targeted 64, therefore get him off the field. Something like that should go into a potential cornerback discussion when you're going to look at Pro Bowlers, you're going to look at Defensive Rookie of the Year, because like you said earlier in the chat, I think it might have been Bonzology, he's done everything right he just doesn't have the cherry on the cake. He's baked the entire cake himself, hasn't had the big interception, hasn't had the marquee moment, hasn't had that game-changing signature that will elevate him to that next level yet. But if he never gets it and he just plays like this the entire career, I don't think I would care, because he's playing out of his mind right now. And that is incredibly valuable. Right, Martian's joined, everyone, by the way. What in the hell is on your head? You have a 5-head boss man. Did he get drafted to the army? No, I forgot you've not been here for a little while. But I realized, I might have told you about my bet. I tweeted when Nick Sirianni shaved his head, the same day I tweeted if they won 4 games in a row, I would shave mine. Now, I thought I tweeted when they win the Super Bowl, I'll shave mine. I didn't. I was very premature in my tweet. They won 4 games in a row, and I'm a man of my word. All right, a Lannister always pays his debts, and now we do have a 5-head. You're right. It's absolutely massive. Like, you can eat breakfast off that. There's a fried egg there. You got some sausages, some bit of bacon over here. You can do all sorts with it. But there's a little line that's like here. You can see it there. That's scaring me. That is receding, and I'm not looking forward to that. But look, I think it doesn't look as terrible as I thought it would. I was expecting to look genuinely atrocious. Never mind. You look like you mug people. All-timer clip. All-timer timing on that. Like, I'm like, yeah, I feel good. I'm starting to feel good about it, Martian. You know, this bald head, like I'm growing into it. You look like you mug people. Great. There's that gone. Blankenship and CJGJ good in the back. Keep where he is. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think for the time being, definitely. Maybe in the off-season, if you want to experiment, like, I think that's going to come down to drafting or free agency, like who's available. If there is a premier safety available, get him. If there's a premier corner, get him. Move Dejim wherever. You know, it doesn't really matter. You've got that flexibility. Like a local of Essex. No, Essex is not this. I look like I don't know, from like some blue collar, like Yorkshire. I'm from Yorkshire. I've been working in the mines. I work in the mines like Sean Bean. I'm dirty because I've been working 14 hours a day. I look like that, you know? I mean, I'm missing the muscular build and the soot everywhere, and I'm just instead look a bit problematic. But that's fine, all right? Beggars cannot be choosers, Martian. And unfortunately, one of us has to look like Sid from Toy Story in order to get this team back, you know, on the right direction. I did what I had to do. 40 targets to Mitchell for 23 catches. Hasn't allowed more than 25 yards to any of the top receivers he has faced. That is genuinely saucy. There is nothing saucier than that. That is absolutely sensational. And I really hope he wins Rookie of the Year, like Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's earned every bit of it. Like, this is the thing as well. Like, edge rushers are going to always have an edge because they get sacks and they make highlight level plays. But Q is out there playing like 80, 90% of snaps every single game, blanketing some of the best receivers in the game, barely allowing any catches, barely giving up any yards. That should count for more. Like, he's my Defensive Rookie of the Year. All right, no matter what happens, he's mine. And that he can be ours. We will do our PSN awards at the end of the year. We will tweet him and say, you are Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he's going to have a field day with it. Yeah, but like you said, Jared Verse in the lead by a lot because of the stats. It's just sacks and pressures and QB hits, isn't it? Like, it's so much more valuable, apparently, than a corner deflecting a pass or taking away an option for that edge rusher to get a sack. You know, like, you just see the sack. They don't factor in, oh, well, the receiver the quarterback was going to target was blanketed, so he had to hold on to the ball longer, which meant Verse gets the sack. Like, that's... we can rant about NFL Pro Bowls and rankings and all the rest and awards all day long, I'm sure, but I hate that it's so subjective. Like, there should be a way to balance it all, I think. Like, it should be done on points because each position gets graded differently. You can't just go, oh yeah, Jared Verse was better than Quinion Mitchell. Like, for what? Like, no one can quantify that because they do two completely different things. You should get like a criteria for every position. So for corners, like snaps played, targets, catches allowed, like tackles, picks, whatever. Target rate, I think, is a big one of like the actual snaps you're on the field. And then edge rushes, obviously all your pressure stats. And then give them a final score out of 50. And then whoever has the final score is your Rookie of the Year or your MVP or what. Like, that has to be the way, because you can't just go out there and say that, oh, this defensive end's better than that linebacker, because they do different things. And I think that I should be in charge of the NFL. Get Commissioner Goodell out. I'm going in and I'm sorting it out. Don't you worry. As of now, the only help we need on D is the edge rushers. The secondary looks stacked with depth. Yeah, and providing they can keep Zach Bourne and obviously Nakobe Dean can maybe work out a long-term extension. The linebackers look set for the time being. They can breed in some new talent. You've got Jeremiah Trotter lurking in the wings as well. You're right. It's just defensive end. And it's also in a weird spot because Josh Sweat's going to be a free agent. Brandon Graham is 73 years old. And you've only got Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff left. Like, I would not be surprised at all if they go edge rusher first round this year or next year, or if they go out and get a couple of big names in free agency, because that is the one thing that is holding them back right now. Defense transformed after DeJean took over the slot, says Mats. Completely agree. I wrote an article on it as well a few weeks ago saying that just him being near the line of scrimmage, being able to generate a bit of pressure, like when you've only got a 3-man front and none of them are producing, and you're toying around with outside linebackers and trying to generate any sort of pressure off the edge, it's hard to do. But if you've got a corner that can storm off the edge and has actually got the speed to do it and isn't a liability like Avonte Maddox, it will do so much because the tackles have to be aware, the tight ends have to be aware, and that opens up matchups for guys like Jalen Carter, like Bryce Huff, like Josh Sweat to get home and win their matchups. And it's 100% what we've been seeing. But you're completely right. I think there is something to be said for not just DeJean's presence, but his ability in coverage has been really, really impressive. Like, I think it's been a long time, and I hope you guys agree, that since we've seen rookies for the Eagles all play that well. Like, if you think now, just the ones that are playing currently on this team, you've got DeJean, obviously you've got Quinion Mitchell, you've got Will Shipley out there that has made a couple of snaps, Jalix Hunt has played snaps, Johnny Wilson caught a touchdown last week. Like every rookie, near enough. I mean, Anaya Smith, we can leave him because it's another Liam Crush that will do absolutely nothing. John Hightower level, no need for it. But overall, like just the growth of this rookie class has been beyond impressive. So I hope they keep it up. But DeJean and Mitchell together have really given that defense an identity. And I don't think you can say that for many rookies in general. Like, it's very rare that you find a rookie just steal the identity. All right, we're running this now. This is our defense. This is how we're going to do it. And they've been doing it. It's been really, really cool to see. Key to this game besides turnovers, mine's tackling and playing tight. Kingsbury runs a quick screen pass game similar to what Baker likes. Yeah, I think defensively it's very much, this might be the test for Zach Bourne that I'd be worried about, I think. Just because it is so quick, it's going to be very fast flowing. It's going to be a lot of underneath stuff. And we know that Zach Bourne isn't the most athletically proficient. His skill set is his mentality and his processing and his ability to position himself comfortably and to not take those bad tackling angles. Like, he's fantastic in coverage because he can drop back a lot and just anticipate very well. If he has to come downhill and he has to blow up a screen, like, he can do it. It has been done, but it's harder. And when you've got guys in that Washington backfield like a Luke McCaffrey, when you've got Terry McLaurin, when you've got Noah Brown, when you put in even Brian Robinson, I know he won't be an issue this week, but you know what I mean? There's going to be a strain. There's going to be a real strain on that linebacker position. This is going to be a Nakobe Dean, Zach Bourne. They need their best stuff because they're going to get challenged. The wideouts, I think we can all agree we're not overly concerned. Full confidence in Quinion Mitchell. I like what the safeties are doing. Obviously, they played pretty well last time out as well. The pass rush is picking up speed. The linebackers have been arguably the best of the bunch, but it's a big challenge, this one. So I think that is absolutely going to be one of them. But Dory says he's super fast and elusive to traffic. I mean, he is, but I mean, in terms of like his strengths, I would say he doesn't have the speed. Like, if you compare him to Nakobe Dean, I think Nakobe Dean is much better in terms of like sideline to sideline. Zach Bourne to me is just, he's so good. I've said this in a few streams before, and I don't want to keep rinsing and repeating it, so I apologize to anyone that's heard this 17 times. But what Bourne does well is like understand his weaknesses and will play around them extremely well. And when he's positioning, like, he reads a game so quick and it allows him to just pull a trigger and go and be correct. And that makes up for a lot of time, essentially. And I always gave the comparison to Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who bigger, stronger, faster, tougher. doesn't have the instincts and get a little bit frozen sometimes. So it's easy for Bourne to look bigger and better when he can key in and just go because he understands what's coming. Like I think there was a screen. Was it the Jaguars? There was a screen he blew up. I mean, I know he had the forced fumble last time out, but he just processes so quick. I don't even think it's like the speed of him physically. His head is so far ahead that he can take the angle to negate. I mean, he might look past her. I don't know. I'm just going off what I saw on tape when he played with the Saints defense, and I was very much impressed with the positioning and the awareness of him. He has looked incredible, so maybe he just slimmed down a bit, picked up some speed compared to last season. But either way, I'm not saying that at all. I mean, dude, we researched Zach Bourne the day he signed with the team. We were going through all of his Saints snaps here on stream with a lot of the guys in the chat. It's one of those, that was just what I remember from that stream of like him just being a little bit slower than a lot of the other linebackers out there, but mentally just so far ahead. And I compared him, not last year, I think it was a stream before, to KJ Wright, the linebacker that was formerly of the Seahawks. He reminds me a lot of that. And I love it, man. I literally, as soon as he signed, I was one of the first people on Zach Bourne to say this guy is gonna just absolutely not dominate, but he's going to be a force in this defense, and they can carve out a role. And I'll try and find the link to the stream when I'm done. I can pop it in the chat. But yeah, his Saints tape is a very interesting watch. If you've watched obviously him now all season and you're impressed, like if you go back then, maybe he just wasn't being asked to do as much. It could well be that. It could just be that he wasn't asked to do as much, and he's not being asked to move so much sideline to sideline. Dean's having a rough time in pass coverage. Bourne's the best in the NFL. I think Bourne is just Saints mean nothing. No, but in terms, dude, well, they obviously signed him from the Saints, right? So when they signed him, we watched the Saints tape like the day he signed, is what I'm saying. So that was where we built that opinion off and have then formulated things on top of it, is all I'm trying to say. Dean's got better in pass coverage, but he's definitely more of a downhill linebacker. I think Dean's more explosive. I'll 100% say that. Like, Dean is more explosive, but and I guess that's what I was trying to get at with the Bourne comparison. It's just, as an athlete, I think Dean just is more explosive. Mentally, I think Bourne's better. But either way, both are balling out. Mr. Sandman, nice to see you. I'm sorry I missed it. He says Kruger. I know, we've gone for the Sirianni special. And I don't look like I'm 17 anymore. I now look like I'm at least 21. So that's a plus. Where we go? Did I call out from work Friday? No, I can't. I'm not allowed. I'm very much on the clock. So my work will be watching the game, then waking up at so I think I'm going to be for me, it's like the game starts at 1:15 in the morning. It will finish at about 5. I'm probably going to do a post-game stream on the Thursday night. So that's going to be 5 till 6 in the morning, maybe 6:30, 7. Go to bed at 7, wake up at 12 p.m., which is 6 p.m. your time, get some content set and go again. So Thursday, the night games always kill me, man. I kind of love when the Eagles aren't what's the word? Not good. But when they're a little bit under the radar, I can sleep better because they're always on at 1 p.m., which is 6 p.m. my time. So I'd watch them in the evenings. But now, yeah, I think it was last year, they were it killed me. The amount of primetime games absolutely killed me. No more boy band look, innit? No more boy band look. You look 21, about to cause an issue that would involve the Met. I thought you meant Mrs. Met, and I was like, no comment. Officer, no. Not Mrs. Met. No. But no, you actually meant the Met Police, and that is now a very different comment, and not great. But yeah, I've got to get up to watch it. I've got to get 4 a.m. Friday, so game ends at 11ish. That's going to be rough. Oh, I hate to see it. I was happy with the flexes this year. Yeah, look, if I can avoid them, I like Sunday night football. That's different because you get to watch Red Zone, you get to watch the 4 p.m. slate, you get your bets and fantasy coming in. Then I can watch the Eagles, and that caps off the night. But Thursday night games are just unnecessary. Although they're better without the Boogermobile. As soon as that thing was disbanded, life got very much happier for everyone that ever watches football. Waste of time that was. I'm so happy that went. But yeah, bottom line, Zach Bourne, very impressed. I will say, dude, I'm not sure where the stream is. I'll have to dig it out. I can't be asked to do it now because I'll be on stream just typing. But there is a stream where we break down the Saints tape and we look at every defensive snap he played last year. definitely worth a watch. I would say just say for you to just see what we saw. Like all we've done is build on top of that. Really, I'm ecstatic that he's blown up the way he has and he continues to succeed. But I think the added context of just seeing that first. It's like that Lego meme where the guy falls in love straight away. I'm like that. I'm like, and kind of gushed over him a bit. So if you're a big Zach Bourne fan, I think you should change your name to Bourneology. Bourneology. So there you go. That's got to be done. But yeah, he's just a brilliant player, man. And I hope the Eagles sign him long term. I really, really do. I think you look like the English version of a corner boy. So, I don't know. My instinct tells me that's someone at a soccer game. And I don't think it is that. And I'm gonna Google this, Duck. And I'm telling you now, Sunshine, if it's not nice, we're gonna have problems. Right? Corner boy. Googling it. Videos. It's a song. I was a corner boy meeting cats by the. That doesn't sound good. Corner boy. One who loafs at street corners. Corner boy meaning. A disreputable man or youth who spends time loitering on the street. Loitering on the street. I would never loiter, let alone on a street. God, that's the last place you catch me loitering. Bonzo is a drum if you're homegrown. The more you know. You learn something new every day. God, I love a bit of Led Zeppelin. Tremendous. I haven't listened to him forever though. What was the one? Was it Mothership? They put out. I think I had like a T-shirt of. Is it Mothership? I had the album. I don't know. It was a T-shirt when I was like 15. Loved him. You know what grinds my gears? People saying keeping Jalen's passing attempts down is why successful because you can't expect him to throw 30 times. No QB is successful throwing 30 times. I mean, other than like prime snussed up Aaron Rodgers, yeah, like not many are. But I would much rather leave. Look, you've got Saquon Barkley. You've got a terrible run defense on deck. Just run the ball. Like, you don't need to. And I think that's the nice thing with this Eagles team now is that there isn't a lot of ego with it, I don't think. That they just want to win. That's it. They just want to win. It doesn't matter if AJ gets 50, if Smitty gets 50. Like, no one cares. As long as they get the 50 yards for that receiver, it's all that matters. So, yeah, I think that it's nice to see. Like, it's really weird because it always stuck with me. Like, when I interviewed Jordan Matthews, I think I've said this a few times as well, but it was 2015. And he said that it felt like to him the offense was very much built like Golden State at the time, where if Steph can't go, Clay can. If Clay's not open, Draymond is. Like, and that has stayed with me, even though the Eagles have changed so much over the last near decade. Man, I'm getting old. That one I had to say, but I think it's the same thing where now you've got like you can't feed all of them. Like Saquon isn't going to have a career year as well as AJ as well as Smitty. It's just not viable. But if they can all have very good years and they can all make the Super Bowl and they all hurt teams in different ways, then I think that's all they really care about. So, yeah, I think that especially for Jalen, Wynn has said it right there. Jalen, when he gets going, he just needs a little bit of time to warm up. You've got to boil the kettle, which is a foreign concept to a lot of you because I know you don't have kettles in America, and I haven't had that discussion yet. And believe me, I will when I come out there next year because I am not having tea without a kettle, boiling tea in a pot over an oven. What we get a kettle. I will buy all of you a kettle for Christmas in this chat. I'm not having you walk around live without a kettle. It's an imperative kitchen instrument. Rant over. But just like a kettle, he needs boiling up. You've got to get the juices flowing. And when he does sink into that rhythm, it's a lot easier for him to deal and start just finding that flow. Once he's in flow state, he's on another level. But I'm sure he can find that against Washington. Like, they're going to scheme accordingly. And again, when the run defense is that bad, when Saquon's that good, it's pretty easy for them to find the rhythm. Once he gets a rhythm, my God, does he dance all over defenses. And he has an electric kettle. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, Duck. Very happy. I think you've told me that before, actually. I think you avoid the kettle discussion because you're very much ahead of the curve with that one. Shout out to the Eagles linebacker coach, Bobby King. This is the best performance out of the group in decades. Absolutely. Dude, nail on the head there. I need to write an article about that because, again, it's not just Bourne, it's not just Dean. Like, that whole group is doing exceptionally. And when you go back, like, when was the last time genuinely we had a linebacker group this good? Because the only comparison I can get is Jordan Hicks, D'Amico Ryans. Like, that final year before, I was going to say Simba, but that's the little one. What's his dad called? Big Lion. Before Big Lion retired, Mufasa. Mufasa. Yeah, before Mufasa retired. That last year of D'Amico and Jordan Hicks together, I think was excellent. And since then, it's been very topsy turvy, and sustainability has been, non-existent really. So, yeah, been great to see them. Is it Mustafa or Mustafa? Mustafa. That's a planet on Star Wars. Mustafa, isn't it? I'm not good with Disney films. Was he awful his last season? Have I just been? Well, okay. Was it the 2015 season? Okay, this is what we have to ask ourselves whenever I talk about 2015. Were they that good, or is Liam just romanticizing 2015 because, for some reason, Sam Bradford sleeves has a hyperfixation with Sam Bradford? Loves the season. Jordan Matthews. I don't know what it is about that Eagles 2015. Like, that is my Roman Empire. Like, I think about that 2015 season way too much, and I don't really know why. So that's probably rose-tinted glasses. Now, I'm not going to come out there and start defending Byron Maxwell, but, it was, for me, a randomly fun year, and I don't know why. So I apologize for that misjudged analysis. But yeah, obviously 2017, obviously done a very good shout apart from that. I just wanted to include Jordan Hicks in there as well, because again, he was I wish they'd kept him. Like, had it not been for the injuries and all the other stuff, like, yeah, great player. And the Philly version of Idris Elba, I just stare at people menacingly for no reason. I love that. I don't know where he just dropped that in. I respect the aura from the young man. He has just come out. I'm intimidated, if I'm honest. I can feel that through the screen, and I'm not feeling it. I'm a bit flustered. Might have to slide the DMs in a minute, if you know what I mean. And on that note, guys, we are going to call it there. We will be live tomorrow night after the game, I think, for a post-game show. If we're not, Friday night is all right for fighting. If the Commanders lose, I will be scrapping everyone. Loitering in the street is like a corner boy, as Duck Nguyen once said to me. So, yeah, I will see you tomorrow night for the Eagles Commanders recap. Hopefully the team can get it done, move to their 6th win in a row, take sole control of the NFC East, dethrone Jaden Daniels, send him packing back to Washington with his tail between his legs, and the Eagles can reignite their Super Bowl hopes. I've been Liam Jenkins. On your way out, if you could, leave a like, drop your popcorn in the trash, and just say thank you to the theatre workers as you leave, because they do a good job cleaning the seats and preparing the movies for you. And I will see you tomorrow night, if not Friday, when we go through it all over again. So go Birds. Thank you very much for hanging out. I appreciate all of you. You're absolute stars. And thank you for holding my bad takes accountable as much as my good ones. I will see you tomorrow or Friday. Take care. Enjoy your Thursday night football. I've missed the outro. Where is it? Hang on. Amateur hour. Where's it gone? See you later. Microphone's still on. So I'm trying to turn it off. See you later.